You gave them every chance to win. If you look at this in slow motion, you can see Caitlin Clark clearly smiling in confusion, smiling in, did that really just happen? Smiling in, you slide W. And she says, she points at the other team, you gave them every chance to win. Oh, goodness gracious. Caitlin Clark, she's chomping at the bits to start talking to these referees during the game.
This is kind of where everything started at with Sydney Colson. So this is the timeline here. Let me get this pulled up here. This is interesting. I didn't know she said all that today. Okay, this is interesting here. She started off last night by saying at a certain point,
and you ref, who you betting on? And mind you, there was some problems going on with the shot clock throughout the game. But man, there is no way. Right at the end of the game, you should be on top of it. You telling me you're not paying attention to when...
The WNBA has stirred up yet another firestorm, and this time, Caitlin Clark and Sydney Colson aren't holding back. They've had enough of the biased officiating, the double standards, and the league's obsession with silencing its stars instead of protecting them. What should have been a night to celebrate a hard-earned Indiana Fever win instead became Exhibit A of the WNBA's credibility crumbling in real time.
In the league's existence, I'm gonna need for Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as each other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually, and I've considered roping my sister in it to have office purse charges.
It all began after Indiana edged out a nail-biting 76-75 victory over the Los Angeles Sparks. Normally, a finish like that would have the Fever locker room celebrating, but not this time. Instead of the win, the spotlight fell on yet another round of baffling, one-sided officiating that left players, fans, and analysts stunned. Do you think the WNBA will finally step up and fix this mess? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's get into it.
Some hands touch that ball. Come on, man. And then to reward them with the timeout, like, fam, that's crazy work. Look, Caitlin Clark, like, what is going on here? Like, no. Look, Caitlin ready to run the floor, fam.
Let's rewind to the second quarter. Kelsey Mitchell, Indiana's other scoring powerhouse alongside Caitlin Clark, drove hard to the rim. She blew past her defender clean, only to be grabbed and yanked mid-drive. Not a bump, not light contact, yanked. The foul was so obvious that even fans in the last row of the nosebleeds saw it coming. Everyone waited for the whistle, but nothing. The refs swallowed it like the play never happened. Mitchell, tough as ever, powered through and still finished the layup, but the damage was already done. The Fever bench exploded in disbelief.
There's one referee. We definitely have to check for betting slips for this guy right here. I think his name is like Agun Agazi, because it sure seemed like he did not want to let the Fever take away this win, making the last 1.9 seconds last almost 5 minutes. He was just like letting them call a reset timeout, and then he was like, no, it's a foul. But I think the worst part about that 1.9 seconds was when 0.4 seconds was left on the clock and Kelsey Mitchell was at the free throw line. She was trying to miss on purpose because that takes time off of the clock, because if she would have made it in, they would have been able to inbound and possibly do a tip in. But this guy allowed a reset timeout. When do you allow a reset timeout with 0.4 seconds?
That's when Caitlin Clark, injured on the sideline but locked into the game as always, finally lost it. She jumped to her feet, shouting at the refs, waving her arms, screaming, "Call it! Call it!" Her fire lit up the bench. Then Lexi Hull joined in, furious over the no call. And what was the ref's response? They hit Hull with a technical foul. Think about that. The player who was fouled got nothing. The player who committed the foul kept playing. And the teammate who dared to speak up about the injustice? She's the one punished. If that's not rigged, what is?
That's what everybody saw in that game. Like, it didn't really matter what was going on. We all knew what was happening. We all knew what was happening there. And the game was being given. The game was absolutely being given to the Sparks. They were giving the Sparks every single chance possible to go and win that game. Even though realistically, did they deserve to win that game? Hell no. Hell no. They did not. And I mean that. They did not deserve to win that.
And it wasn't just the Fever who were furious. Watching from her living room while sidelined with a torn ACL, Sydney Colson had seen enough. She grabbed her phone and fired off one of the most viral tweets of the season. At a certain point in the league's existence, I'm gonna need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as other stars.
But Kelsey Mitchell's whistle last night was horrific. And Kelsey drove to the basket a lot. She is the type of person that just like goes through a lot of defenders, and she wasn't getting a call. This really was not her game. She was not hitting it from the three whatsoever, but everyone is entitled to having a bad game here and there, and I think she was kind of due for one because of the tear that she's been on lately. Even Sid Colson took to Twitter to talk about it, saying, at a certain point in the league's existence, I'm gonna need Kelsey Mitchell to get the same whistle as other stars. The way she gets assaulted is insane, actually.
The way she gets assaulted is insane. I've even considered roping my sister in to pursue charges. But Kelsey's whistle last night was horrific. That wasn't a joke. That was Colson saying out loud what Fever fans have been shouting for months. This isn't just bad officiating, it's systematic targeting. Indiana players are getting mugged on the court and punished for daring to speak up about it. Colson's words, dripping with fury, sarcasm, and brutal honesty, resonated instantly. The tweet blew up, racking up thousands of shares as fans everywhere said the same thing. Finally, someone said it. And of course, Caitlin Clark couldn't resist chiming in. Her response was perfect, short, sharp, and laced with sarcasm. Careful, you're going to get fined. 6 words that summed up the entire problem. Clark knows better than anyone that in this league, you can get hacked on the floor, ignored by refs, and sabotaged by phantom whistles. But the second you call it out, the WNBA comes after you. She wasn't exaggerating either. She was pointing to a long, ugly track record, can't get no more fine. That was Sydney Colson's gut punch reply to Caitlin Clark's sarcasm. And then Lynn Dunn jumped in, saying, agree. I'll help pay the fine. Clark responded with, love it. Everyone listened to Lynn. The exchange was light-hearted on the surface, but it points to something much bigger and much uglier. Just ask Sophie Cunningham, the WNBA's poster child for what happens when you dare to speak the truth about officiating. She's been fined not once, not twice, but 3 separate times simply for questioning the refs. Her crimes? First, lip-syncing a TikTok track that mocked referees as stupid and useless, $500 gone. Then, calling out inconsistency on her own podcast, another $1,500. And finally, saying out loud what everyone saw with their own eyes. Paige Buchers was getting every whistle while Fever guards like Kelsey Mitchell were hacked with no protection. Cunningham even clarified, I love Paige, she's a hell of a player and I'd love to play with her one day, but the refs gave her every single call. You couldn't touch her. Meanwhile, our guards get nothing. That inconsistency drives me insane. If whistles are player-focused, that's a huge problem. And she's a rookie, rookies shouldn't get star treatment. The message is clear. Under Kathy Inglebert's leadership, the WNBA isn't protecting its players or prioritizing fairness. Instead, it's fining its own stars into silence. It's a protection racket. Take whatever the refs give you, or we'll hit your wallet. It's not just embarrassing, it's corrupt. And Colson's reply to Clark said it all, can't get no more fine. Translation, players are already punished, already maxed out. When athletes start half joking about being fined into bankruptcy just for demanding fairness, it stops being funny. It becomes a damning indictment of a league that claims to be growing, yet refuses to fix its most glaring problem: corrupt, inconsistent officiating. This isn't just about one missed foul. It's a pattern. All season long, Indiana Fever players have been hacked, shoved, elbowed, and targeted with excessive physicality. And the response has been the same every time. Silence from the referees, punishment when the Fever protest, and smirks from opponents who know they can get away with it. That's the exact opposite of how a league should treat its biggest star. Caitlin Clark is the face of women's basketball, the player filling arenas and breaking TV records. Yet she's the one being battered on the court without protection. And here's the kicker. Instead of celebrating an incredible Fever performance in a high-stakes game, what do people remember? Not the win. Not the grit. They remember Caitlin Clark needing to be restrained by her teammates after yet another no call. That's how bad the officiating has gotten. It's overshadowing the basketball itself. But the real outrage isn't just about a single game or one blown whistle. It's about the numbers, the cold, hard data that proves this bias isn't random. Here's the headline stat. Caitlin Clark alone has absorbed 17% of all flagrant fouls committed in the WNBA this season. Let that sink in. One rookie, one player, has been the target of nearly 1/5 of the league's most violent, excessive fouls.